Russians are like children. In the beginning, they are, okay, you are a strange person, but in the end, they will give you everything they have. They will share everything with you. They will take care of you like you are part of us. Like, oh, Spain, the land of the sun, the land of happiness, good
Paella,
food.
sangria.
Yes.
Land of Don Quixote.
Yes.
Yes. Halford Mackinder, one of the fathers of geopolitics, he wanted during the civil war in Russia, he wanted only one thing. Russians must die. A lot of them, millions of them. If the maximum, all of them. This will be wonderful for British government.
I heard, maybe you confirm, maybe you will reject what I say, but I heard many times that Spanish people used to mix beer with Sprite and drink it instead of proper normal. You know, when you fix this moment, you will have a chance to recover your nation. Beer is beer, soft drink is soft drink.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks now.
Hello, dear friends. This is the Dynamic Spectrum Talks podcast. I am Anna Shafran, and this is my colleague, Yuri Lindre.
Hello, everyone.
We are building bridges between peoples and nations around the world with the obvious aim of removing artificially dividing lines between us. And we are very much alike. And here we are trying to rediscover and reopen each other.
And let's welcome our first Spanish guest, Enrique Javier Refoyo Acedo, a political scientist, journalist, and humanitarian activist. Buenos días. ¿Cómo está usted? ¿Cómo está Madrid?
Доброе утро. In Madrid, we are very happy in the weather part, but in the political area, everything is terrible, everything looks terrible, but okay, it's only our typical days.
But your Russian language is perfect, really. It's wonderful.
Я пытаюсь говорить русский язык, но это сложный язык, особенно в теме деклинации.
Okay, this is why we will proceed in English, because it's the most international language, and let's follow our traditional way of conversation.
Okay, let's start our conversation. You have been to the Donbas region many times on humanitarian missions, and where you were there even after the start of the special military operation. Please tell us about it, and how do you see what is happening here?
Oh, I was in Donbas regions at least 6 times. In Crimea 2 times, in Kherson 1 time, and the first time I was there, it was in 2070, during Day of Victory, Dien Pobiedy, and Dien Republiki, the Day of Republic. We made some humanitarian missions. Later in 2018, we made the most important humanitarian mission, because we bought an ambulance in Spain, and we drove across Europe, and we entered in Russia in Pskovskaya Oblast, region of Pskov, and later we went to the south, around the western part of Russia, and we arrived in the Travmatologicheskaya Bolnitsa Goroda Donetsk. Sorry that I change sometimes Russian and English, because some things I only know in Russian, because I always use it in Russian. So during 1 week, 7 days, we drove this ambulance, we delivered. We also delivered another secondary mission for the Kraevedichesky Museum in Donetsk, a reproduction of painting from a Spanish painter about Don Cossacks. It was also interesting, not only the ambulance, also this one for the historical, and also an interesting bridge. Imagine that a Spanish painter made a paint about Don Cossacks, the 100th anniversary of civil war in Russia, and it was the mission of surprises. Nobody could believe that we managed to drive across Europe during 1 week, no stops, and the most important in our case, it was 2 Spaniards, 2 Russians, fulfilling this mission when nobody was interested on it, on the conflict on the situation of Donbass. Imagine in 2015, after the battle in airport of Donetsk, in the mainstream media of Europe, the conflict was frozen, was forgotten. Like it not exist. There is no conflict in Ukraine, in Donbass. There is nothing. And when we were making this mission, even some colleagues very interested on politic affairs, they asked us, but the war is continuing. Yes, the war never ended. Oh, because we saw nothing in television. Yes, that's one very important point. In television, everything disappeared from 2015 to the beginning of a special military operation, and suddenly started everything again. And yes, the conflict, the war, and no, the war started in 2014 in a civil war aspect of it, and later, of course, the conflict was widespread, was broadened in the whole world. And also now, for example, I was there. I lived in Donetsk sometimes, so I know what means bombs falling over the city. And that's a special lesson for the people who thought in Europe that the war is some kind of safari, some kind of party, or like a video game in which you can load a new game, load new life, and no. In the real world, if you lose your life, there is no load game again. It's a total lose of it. And this is very important because imagine that in the whole countries of Europe, with the exception of Hungary and Slovakia, they thought that war is some kind of a game. It's some kind of no trouble issue. It's absolutely stupid thinking. I don't know how to explain it exactly in English, but imagine that you see an abyss, and other people see an abyss, but the politicians told, no, there is no abyss. No, don't worry. We are building a bridge. No, there is no bridge. And you cannot make a bridge on this abyss.
Enrique, may I ask you a little bit more specific question? Because you told us that you visited Donbass and Donetsk in 2015, so the period when nobody were really thinking that something is happening there. So my question is, what did you find there? Was it a real civil war, as you mentioned? And what was the people you met there? I mean, the Donbass people. What's your impressions about the first meetings?
In the first meetings, nobody expected the war. Nobody wanted the war. And it's the most important feeling on the people. Nobody expected, but it happened. And especially in the travel with ambulance, I also asked to visit Saur-Mogila, a special hill in the border between Luhansk and Donetsk regions, and not far from the border with Rostov-na-Donu region. And this was very important, and it was even more special than I thought beforehand, because there was the old cemetery and the new cemetery. The old cemetery, you can think, the stories of Babushka and Dievushka, they were talking about Second World War, the Great Patriotic War. Yes, of course, grandparents talking about their young time and the battles, and it's history. This is in the past. But suddenly, there is new cemetery, there is new battle, there is new war. So nobody expected and nobody wanted this war, but they got it. And there is now a new cemetery over an old battlefield. And I think this is very important to remark for Russians, of course, but for all the world. Sometimes you can grow up with stories from your family about, yes, it happened a war, we were fighting here against Nazis that time, and the battle in the hill in 1943, when the battle for Saur-Mogila in Second World War. But now our generation, our young people, is fighting again in the same hill. So imagine the shock for all the people in Europe. We have a lot of battlefields around our cities, around our capitals, around or maybe inside the capitals. And imagine that you grow up in this land, like, yes, there is monument from Second World War, the stories from grandparents, and suddenly we have to fight in the same place. Imagine this thing. So that's why it was so important for me to make this visit, and we recorded a documentary, and also we were recording the new graves, because I was finishing my career as a political scientist in Spain during the start of the civil war. So for me, it's some kind of parallel life which never abandoned me. It's some kind of, imagine that when I was finishing my career, it would have erupted a civil war in Spain. And the old battlefields became new battlefields. And put this in a general view in every countries, especially in European countries, from my side. It's terrible. It's an absolutely tragedy. And of course, it's 10 years of war. Imagine that what you were doing during the past 10 years, not 10 days, 10 years. It's terrible. It's an absolutely tragedy.
Let's stick to the question, because Enrique just discovered and expressed his first feelings about the Donbas region, and there is one very interesting fact that I think will be also interesting for the audience. In 2021, Enrique, at All Russian Forum, you appeared in public wearing a Cossack hat, and you also said to the public, to the audience, look, I'm a terrorist. At least that's what the Ukrainian media called me after my visit to Donbas region. This hat that you were wearing during this forum was given to you by the head of the unrecognized but at the time Donetsk People's Republic, Mr. Alexander Zakharchenko, who was later murdered, as we all know, by the order of the Ukrainian special forces. So please tell us about this interesting fact, how this hat was given to you, and all related this moment.
Oh, it happened after our travel with ambulance. We had no money for a new big humanitarian mission, but with some French and Serbian friends, I was again in Donbass, and we had to visit and provide some help for a детский сад, an orphanage. And I thought, okay, what can I do? And in Crimea, I had bought черная папаха, and I thought, okay, черная папаха, тельняшка, борода, the Spanish bird, and it must be some kind of the visit from Cossacks to children. And my funny idea, turned into a very special operation, because children were absolutely happy. They were like, oh, our international mission with Spanish Cossack has visited us. And in that case, it was also special for me, because I understand that in Russia, if you say that you are Spanish, for people, it's like, oh, the sun has come. the happiness has come, and also it's like Telniashka, it's the bird, it's the papaja. It's like, oh, it's some kind of the best of Spain, the best of Russia in the same place with us, for us. And I bought three footballs, three balls of football with Spain in the balls, and they were, oh, okay, wonderful, let's play. And the children were very happy with us. And days later, we met with Zakharchenko, and I kept my outfit with Telniashka and Papaja, and everybody was very happy in Donetsk. Like, okay, it's like our special guest. He came a lot of times here. He loves a lot. He appreciates a lot the Russian land. He's the best of Spain, the best of Russia in one person. And when I met with Zakharchenko, he told something to body words. And no, I will give you a better one, a better papaja. And he gave me the white papaja, the Bielaya papaja, from him, and he also sat in my table of dinner. And we were talking about the Donbas spirit, the Donbas people, the future Donbas reconstruction. So it was also absolutely special. Okay, I think I was the strange person that everybody was keeping the education in an event, like, yes, there is a procedure to... And no, I am a Spaniard. Здравствуйте, мистер Александр Саханченко. Мне нравится говорить с вами. Что? А ты... Давай, поговорим. And it's I don't know, like unexpected Spanish reaction, but people loves it because French or Italians or Germans, they were absolutely brave people, but everything in order, everything like, no, we have to wait. No, I don't wait. No time to waste. Let's talk. And yes, it was a wonderful experience. And some people say that Russians are always close people and cold people, and no, it's a lie. Really, Russians are like children. In the beginning, they are okay. You are a strange person, but in the end, they will give you everything they have. They will share everything with you. They will take care of you like you are part of us, and that's all. So you are like part of our family, and they will give you everything they have, and it was wonderful experience. Of course, after the war situation, because we were also in the front several times, and for example, we were in the sector of Zaitsevo, close to Gorlovka, in the trenches. In the famous school of Zaitsevo, we were in the very inside of trenches with no protection. We also didn't know where we were in the place we were, but later I was checking the map, and I thought, oh, okay, we were the distance with Ukrainian trenches was less than 500 meters. So we were absolutely really close, and we recorded a documentary in Zaitsevo, because in the day of victory with a French-Serbian friend, we were giving as a present a red flower and some money for the veterans, for the old people. It's a special documentary which can make the Russian will tear a lot, because some friends there told me that, okay, these veterans could be my father, my mother, my grandparent, and it was very special. And also, were you doing in the victory day? in the front areas, giving this presents. And also, we visited this school, and when I delivered a speech for the Security Council of United Nations, I also show a map from Google Maps in which you can see the war. I mean, you can see the school of Zaitsevo and the trenches from DNR, and in the other side, the Ukrainian trenches. So it's not like a hidden war, a concealed war. You can check in Google Maps. Why in Google Maps? Because it's the typical application for I want to go to the beach, I want to visit some place, and I use Google Maps. Okay, in Google Maps you can also check the war, and you can also check the trenches, which were dividing the Donbas republics and the Ukraine territory control. So it's terrible experience also. Imagine that you can check in the future some parts in your country, in European countries, these trenches, especially because Mr. Hollande and Mr. Merkel from French and Germany, they were celebrating 100 years from Battle of Verdun in the First World War, like, oh, we don't want more trenches in Europe, it was a tragedy. Okay, we have trenches. If for you Ukraine is Europe, you have trenches in Ukraine, trenches in Europe. So what are you doing? Nothing.
Enrique, and you was one of the foreign observers during the referendum on joining Russia in Kherson region. How did the vote go?
Oh, the vote went normally. People was happy for voting, and of course it was dangerous in some places. That's why the voting were held during 3 days. But in general, people was happy to vote, because there is also a tragedy inside the tragedy. For many people in these new territories, some years ago, they lost their country. Why? What is the meaning of lose the country? Because there was no more Kiev government. There was no government of Ukraine who can help them, who can take care of them. They had an enemy in the Kiev government. So it, especially, for example, a lot of Ukrainians now with a Russian passport in Spain, they told, we don't have Ukraine as our country because this country disappeared. Now there is an occupation government that destroyed the former Soviet Republic, and there is no more country. I don't have any more country than Russia, because there is no future inside that Ukraine. The future is Russia. So this is also, okay, this is the microvision in the human part. It's very important, but in the geopolitical part, this means that USA especially got what they want. I mean, the split between Russia and Europe, between Western countries and Russia for a long time. I don't want to say forever, but at least for a long time. It's some kind of a new iron curtain, but now closer to Russia, and they destroyed basically one country, Ukraine, for these geopolitical purposes. This is a tragedy that almost nobody cared in Europe, especially in governments, because they, in European governments, so overall, they said, oh, okay, if Washington said, if this comes from NATO, okay, we have to fulfill the alliance, nothing more. They didn't care about Ukrainians, about people, no, they only thought in these geopolitical concepts, and a geopolitical conception who came from British geopolitics from more than 100 years ago. For example, this famous Halford Mackinder, one of the fathers of geopolitics, he wanted during the civil war in Russia, he wanted only one thing: Russians must die, a lot, a lot of them, millions of them. If the maximum, all of them. This would be wonderful for British government. No more Russians in the world. Okay, we can rule the world without opposition. And now they are making the same geopolitics. If Russians and Ukrainians are killing themselves, this is wonderful for them. That's why especially British government was pressuring to Zelensky for continuing the war. Other European countries were like dogs, like, okay, as you say, master, we continue the war. But British government wanted to continue this war because of their own geopolitics. And it seems that nobody knows about history in Europe, about these things, or maybe if you are telling in Europe things like that, you are some kind of Putin agent. It's typical now. Everybody is Putin agent, and this has become a meme in Europe. Like, you say something outside from official version, oh, maybe you are a Putin's agent, maybe there is a Putin inside of you, or maybe you are Russian agent in general. And no, it's to be realistic. They wanted, British government wanted the war, not only between among Russians in civil war, but in general. They always wanted civil wars in the countries they wanted to take. So terrible geopolitics, of course, but it seems nobody learned anything from history, and that's why I put the emphasis, the remark on this visit to Saur-Moquila, because you can see the old cemetery, the old battlefield, the new battlefield in the same place. People who died a lot of decades ago, people who died only 10 years ago. And who is going to continue this war? The British government... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's continue, but I also have two questions, which will be in one larger question related to what you have just said. You mentioned Iron Curtain, you mentioned the typical British geopolitical approach towards, for example, Russia, as we're discussing the conflict in Ukraine. So my question is quite obvious for you. How do you think, what's your impression about the possible Russian, let's say, geopolitical role in the world in general, in the world politics? And the second question, which is a little bit more specific, but still lies on the same logics, what about the Spanish people? What about your country? How people feel about everything that is happening in Europe during this conflict, and how Spanish ordinary citizen what's their attitude when Spanish government transfer its military equipment and weapons to Kiev?
Okay, first answering first question, the serious one. The second is the not so serious one. You will understand later. Russia in world politics. It's Russia is the head of multipolar world. Russia is building a new world in relation with Asian and African countries. This is wonderful. I have envy from Russia for it, because this means that Russia is not alone. Russia is not isolated, as typical said in Western countries. Russia is continue their own geopolitical life. This is an obvious thing in Russia, but it's no obvious thing in Western countries. They thought that Russia has not toilets, not roads, not asphalt, no anything. People is dying. There is no food in supermarkets, and it's like okay. There is no lights in the streets of Russia. Okay, live in your life comfortably. But in the real world, Russia is continue. Russia is alive, and Russia is even stronger than before of starting a special military operation. And of course, Russian position will grow more in the future. In the case of Spain, it's how to say, our political regime had only one task: to make the people stupid. And after 50 years of democracy, of this democratic regime, people is even more stupid year by year. And this is a task from government. Because if the people is stupid, you can manipulate better and easier. That's the reason. But of course, the Spanish people is not so stupid than government would like, and because they are hungry for knowing about geopolitics, about the world. They want to literally turn down this iron curtain from mainstream media. And especially for concreting the thing about transfer of Spanish military equipment to Ukraine. Okay, I will give you two funny situations. You will understand this funny situation. It's like your expression in Russia of "Ispanskoye stidno."
Испанский стыд.
Yes.
Spanish shame.
Yes, it's some kind of it. In the beginning of the year, it erupted polemic about some spies from Ukrainian SBU, because here close to Madrid, in the city of Toledo, the city, an absolutely wonderful city, all Russians who visited Toledo were absolutely impressed. For example, as an anecdote, I made a visit for Mr. Alexander Dugin some years ago, and he was so impressed with Toledo that when he came back to Russia, he wrote a poem in Spanish about Toledo. So he fell in love with Toledo. So you can imagine how wonderful the city is. And in Toledo is located the Academy of Infantry. So many Ukrainian soldiers were training in Toledo. No, only 60, 70 kilometers from Madrid. Very close. So in one of these travels, some agents from SBU were also sent to Madrid for making Spain labor for Ukrainian government. But for Spain, who? Ukrainians? No. For Spanish people who were against the Ukrainian regime. So imagine that you invited them, you trained them, and they were making these hidden travels for making blacklist of Spanish people in Spain. Some generals in army were very angry, like, what is happening here? Why these spies are putting target against our people in our country? Why this can happen? And suddenly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from Socialist Party, from Sanchez government, told that, okay, no polemic. We want broke ties with Ukraine. This must be like, okay, no more spies here, please. Zelensky, no more SBU agents against our people. But they tried to put them below the carpet. But of course, this was not possible. What consequences had this situation? Nothing, because in mainstream media, this news didn't appear, only in alternative media. And we have a new polemic about Ukraine. It's even more stupid, more Ispanskoye stidno. Because imagine the situation. Ukrainian pilot for drones. How he came to Spain? Nobody knows. How he came to Spain with Ukrainian military drones? Nobody knows. Magic. And why an Ukrainian military pilot in Spain with Ukrainian military drones were making a drug taxi from Morocco to Spain? They put drugs in Morocco, and he make the as a pilot for these drones to Spain.
That his was a final exam, to get a diploma. I don't know.
Imagine the situation. So we are helping them we are trained the people and so on and so on. And how they pay? With spies against the Spanish people and with traffic drugs from Morocco to Spain, with a military drone. So it's like, okay, we are giving money, weapons, and training to these people, and these people is targeting against Spanish people in Spain, and they are dealing drugs from Morocco to Spain. Okay, of course, many people will understand, okay, Ukrainian corruption, welcome. Dobro požalovat, korupcja. But for us, it's like, it's madness, because allegedly from mainstream media and from a Spanish government, the government of Zelensky is absolutely clear, is absolutely wonderful government without bad trade or something. And all the times we checked these things, it's like the garbage place from it. And if they are making this corruption during war, imagine that the situation when the war ends, when a lot of in Spain with many friends, we said that imagine, because for example from the Yugoslavian wars, there was a lot of former soldiers who came to Spain and they became thieves and like new mafias in Spain. And imagine a lot of Ukrainians who will came to Spain, especially good weather, weak government, weak laws. We will have a new mafia of crimes, and they are making it during war in their own country. And imagine when the war will end. We will have a lot of these people here inside, and we will discover this Ukrainian corruption and being applied against our country. But in the rest of things, people, as I said before, when mainstream media forgot the conflict in Donbass, the most of people also forgot, and especially because we have a lot of artificial polemics in mainstream media. It's some kind of circus of monsters, and all the time this there is no different media. Mainstream media is only one beast, only one monster, because they receive money from government, from a Spanish government. The Spanish government literally provide bribes to mainstream media for making these operations of misinformation.
Enrique, let's change topic a little bit, if it's possible. Let's talk about this. What do Spaniards really think of Russians? Because before sanctions, Spain was one of the most popular countries among Russian tourists. It's true. And is it possible to restore relations? And what links Spain and Russia today, to your mind? And what common interests could our countries discuss?
Oh, it's this is very interesting because it's an unbalanced relation. I mean, all the times I was in Russia, a lot of people thought in Spain in a very wonderful way. Like, oh, Spain, the land of the sun, the land of happiness.
Paella, sangria.
Yes.
Land of Don Quixote.
Yes.
Yes. For example, it's also very interesting when Russians talk in Spanish, they change their minds. I think, I mean, in Russia, Russians talk in Russian very serious, very formal, very precise, very concrete. But suddenly when change into Spanish, it's like, oh, start to smile. It's a happiness. It's the language of joy. And like it's absolutely different. But in the opposite, there is not like that. Sometimes I remember that it was in the Soviet Union, in the Soviet times, when it happened, the first cinema adaptation of Don Quixote. Not in Spain, but in Soviet Union. And Russians love Don Quixote, love Spanish literature, Spanish art, and they came into Spain because, okay, we will have sun, good weather, wonderful people. Everything is wonderful, everything is magic, everything is astonishing, and we will enjoy good holidays in Spain. But in the opposite, no. Unfortunately, not a lot of Spanish people knows Russia like me, for example. But in general, it's like the typical topics from American films, like vodka, guns, girls, weapons, like that. Like Russia is like that, not like the art, the language, the music, the food. No, it's like Russia is only the topic from films, from American films. So it's the worst part of it. And anyway, Russian tourists were very highly appreciated in Spain because, okay, they spend a lot of money. They don't make
Troubles?
riots. Yes, no, not trouble. In the topics, yes, Europe is a civilized country, a civilized continent, but all the troubles we have from Germans, French, and especially British tourists. But from Russians are perfect tourists. They spend a lot of money. They came with a lot of money and like, yes, I want everything. No troubles, a lot of spending. They bought baggage from with jamon, with cheese, with
absolutely.
everything. So, and especially because of sanctions, we made problems in commerce of a lot of things that Russia appreciate a lot of from Spain, and it's absolutely a tragedy in my point of view, because we cut the sanctions with a good country, with good people in the economic part, with a good market, and especially because, for example, Italians kept the links. They continue as normally. They found all other ways and nothing more. But in the case of Spain, it's like, okay, what we can do, and this is related to a previous question. As government tries to make stupid the people, they okay, we cannot make anything, we cannot make more, and but this curtain from mainstream media, from government, is falling apart day by day, because people don't want the war and don't want to cut relations with a country, with Russia, that is not threatening us. We have very real threats in the south, for example, with Morocco, but government is telling that no, we have to send our army to Slovakia, to Baltic countries. And what about our country? And not about the situation in the southern border, but for example, in Valencia. It's there was a special military NATO base close to the floods in Valencia, and nobody was for helping people, for helping Spanish people. So it's like, okay, we are prepared to fight against Russia, but we cannot make anything when our people is suffering and dying. And for what, for which purpose is NATO? For which purpose is Spanish government or Spanish political class? So the situation in Valencia was the most crazy shock in Spanish recent times.
Yeah, talking about the floods in Spain, could you please tell us a little bit more about what has happened? Because as we understood from the media, it was the most tragic events, the most tragic floods maybe for 150 years. And that was particularly, as you mentioned, in Valencia, and as you just told us that actually NATO and all the, let's say, Western involvement in this activity didn't support the local people. So how did this Spain manage to override these consequences? And what's your impressions on that?
Well, the impressions were absolutely unbelievable, because it was unbelievable in all aspects. For example, government tried to blame climate change for it. It's like, no, it's the first time that flood are happening in Valencia. But suddenly our Valencian people were telling that, okay, since medieval ages, we have record of floods in Valencia, not climate change in medieval times or in modern times. So it's regular situation. And that's why, especially in the times of Franco, it was built change in the course of river in Valencia. This was put around the city, not across the city, and this saved in this time the city of Valencia. It's around half of million people. So imagine the numbers, the figures, and as more things are known about the floods in Valencia, more criminal looks like the Spanish government, or in general the Spanish political class, because it's clear now that Spanish government wanted to create this flood. They gather all the water in one dam and they ordered the opening. So imagine it was like a land tsunami against the down parts areas of it. They didn't warn people or local authorities. They said, okay, we sent an email. What a email? You can make a call. And okay, we haven't, but they wanted to create this situation for, oh, it's climate change. We have to pushing forward some measures, some political measures, and so on and so on. This is a crime from a state. This is a crime from government. But of course, Spanish government, from Socialist Party, the papi from globalist. He is the best proxy in Spain, the most loyal proxy in Spain. So there is no consequences from other parts of political class in Spain or in Europe. Instead of it, the minister who was responsible from this crisis, now she is in the side of Ursula von der Leyen. Now she is in the European Commission. So wonderful. The crimes are wonderful in this political class. And of course, they wanted to create the image that, no, the fault was from regional government. And no, people don't care about regional or government or national government. No, you are one political class and all of you failed to the people. And how many people died? It's not clear. And how big is the damage in these villages, in these towns, in the south of Valencia? And nobody knows. And they don't want to put clear figures because people is very angry. People want, in general, they want to check and to make the fall from local government, from regional government of Valencia, and from central government. People hate everybody of them. And that's why Pedro Sanchez, president, was telling, no, it's not possible that you are telling that only people can save people. No, we are people. We are with you. And no, you weren't with people. You were telling some bureaucratic things like, okay, if they need help, they have to ask for it. Like, no, you are president, you can make without a formal petition in according to this reglement, or no. People, this was absolutely a shock in the country, in the whole Spain. Like, for what we have this government, local, regional, or central government, and also for which purpose we have NATO, because it was the base of Vetera, 30 kilometers from from the devastated areas, and nobody went out from it for helping. No, it's for making deterrence against Russia, but people is dying at 30 kilometers. You want to fight against Russia at 3,000 kilometers, but you cannot help your own people.
Enrique, and if it's possible, I think the last question for today, I can't find an answer, and it seems to me that it is very interesting not only for Russians, but for people in different countries. Look, Catholic Spain on the one hand, and LGBT agenda on the other hand. How it could be connected, I can't understand at all.
The Catholic Church is absolutely pro-LGBT. It's pro-globalist. They are in Russia, of course, is absolutely different. But in the case of Spain, the clerical class has adapted, has assumed all the globalist topics, no matter what. They are like, yes, we are pro-immigrants, pro-immigration, pro-LGBT, pro everything the globalist said. It's like, okay, and for example, imagine the Pope Francis wrote a tweet when the floods in Valencia, and he didn't mention Spain. He said in Iberian Peninsula, and not about Spanish people. The populations in Iberian Peninsula, like, we are not animals. We are not talking about lynx or cows. We are talking about Spanish people. And he said the populations of Iberian Peninsula are suffering.
He didn't mention the Spanish people.
No.
So it was like a general, sort of
Spanish,
imaginary
Spanish
people.
and no people. Only like population. When you talk about population, is population of animals, not people. No mention about Spanish people, about Spanish and people. That's the clear evidence about Catholic structure. No, they are no okay, but the highest part in the down parts of them, it was astonishing that they sent a lot of people for helping Valencian areas, and also they were making liturgies. And they were helping. They were taking out the mud, taking out the destroyed parts, and they were also making liturgies between these helping times. So there is in the same place, in the same part, that there is a separation from Spanish people and the Spanish government. There is also a separation from Spanish Catholic people and Spanish Catholic structure. So it's like government and structure is going by one side, and people is to other side. Is going to other side. So, of course, when this happens, this can be only some kind of revolution, some kind of evolution of situation, but of course the forecast for Spanish governments in general are very black, and also the Catholic structure must have a special like a special perestroika, but without destroying itself. They need to make a review of it. But of course, this won't happen in the peak of the structure, not in the Spanish government or the Roman Pope, but in the down parts of it, in the very base of this Spanish people, Spanish Catholics especially, and that's all.
But let's say something optimistic at the end of our conversation.
I have one. You know what, Enrique, you just explained in the details why the Spain is going to the opposite vector of development, so it's declining in some sort of way, and you need perestroika to rebuild yourself. I think that you should start from the one very interesting moment. I heard, maybe you confirm, maybe you will reject what I say, but I heard many times that Spanish people used to mix beer with Sprite and drink it instead of proper normal. You know, when you fix this moment, you will have a chance to recover your nation. Beer is beer, soft drink is soft drink.
Okay, in the southern parts of Spain, they love mixing everything, many things, and it's also our most happy part in Spain, and also especially is being serious, being having a good perspective for the situation. Government is very nervous. Why? They want to make a total censorship of the society because they are making a campaign against YouTubers, very bad people. They are trying to brand people like they are criminals. There is only the official version is the correct version, is the right version, but there is social networks, social platforms by internet, and people is turning more and more to these social communicators, to these YouTubers, and people is not believing mainstream media, and especially mainstream media is only watched for making louds from them, like, oh, how can be so stupid, how can be so manipulators, how can be so crazy in this mainstream media. And the media guerrilla, the new Spanish guerrilla, is winning this war, but of course the path ahead is very, very long, and some political alternatives must be built, realistic political alternatives, and this is on the oven now. This is preparing, this is cooking at step by step. So of course nothing is lost. The hope is there, is ahead, but a lot of things must be done.
Enrique, thank you very, very much for this very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
So,
Спасибо вам за возможность. Я мне очень рад, что я говорил здесь с вами.
This means that we will need to meet again.
Hope to see you back in our studio.
Very true.
Да, конечно, согласен.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Пока-пока.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks. Now.